Hello, and welcome to a Pokemon XD Gale of Darkness video, where today we will be completing the game with the Hariyama line. Now, I do have some pretty decent hopes for Hariyama because I really like the Pokemon. It's kind of funny looking, and I think he's just kind of a strong Pokemon in general. However, there are a few key things that definitely hold it back, such as Makuhita's stats. It has 72 HP, 60 attack, 30 defense, 20 special attack, 30 special defense, and 25 speed, making it really slow and not that good at taking hits other than its HP being fairly high. And the second problem it has is its move pool. Now, while it does get a lot of good normal and fighting type moves, it only gets one dark type move, one ground type move, and one rock type move, with the only standout being Earthquake, because Earthquake is pretty good. So yeah, I can see this being a bit of a difficult run. I'm kind of hoping that Hidden Power is a decent type though. But anyway, let's go ahead and get right into it. Our Makuhita has a calm nature, raising its special defense and lowering its attack. Not particularly good, but maybe being able to survive some special attacks later in the game will come in handy. And for its ability, it can either get Guts or Thick Fat. I did a coin flip and got Guts, so now if I'm poisoned, on fire, or paralyzed, I'll do more damage. That might end up being better, but also it comes at the risk of doing damage to myself, whereas Thick Fat would just reduce all damage from Ice and Fire type moves. And these are the 4 moves it gets according to Bulbapedia by level 10. Tackle, Arm Thrust, Sand Attack, and Focus Energy. So let's go ahead and get right into it. And at level 13, I learn a 70 base power fighting type move that never misses. The caveat being is that I move last. So I decide not to learn it because honestly I can learn a better move later on down the line. And here is our first big stop in the progression. Now I actually do win this fight in this example, but this is I think the 4th attempt. And that's because Doduo has Peck, which does about a third of my health, and Spoink has Psywave, which does random-ish damage, but there's a chance for it to do a ton of damage, which it happened to me a few times. So after a few tries, I finally beat it, and I move on to the first of the Power Rangers. Now I would like to say, if you are enjoying this video, consider liking this video, and if you have any Pokemon suggestions, put them down below. I might start the Hoenn starter trio next, because it sounds like it could be pretty fun. And before I can go to the next area of the game, I have to teach Mimic. And at level 19, I learn Fake Out, a fairly strong normal type move that has +3 priority and flinches whatever target it hits. It's pretty good, but you can only use it on the first turn. Anyway, the reason I had to teach Mimic was because of this Duskull right here, our first ghost type, and I need to mimic his Nightshade to actually hit him. And that's because ghost type is immune to all normal and fighting type moves. Anyway, at level 24, I evolve into Hariyama, which is a huge boost in stats, and hopefully will take us through the rest of the game pretty easily. For base stats, Hariyama has 144 HP, 120 attack, 60 defense, 40 special attack, 60 special defense, and 50 speed. So it's going to be hitting a lot harder and probably surviving a lot more hits due to the even higher HP stat, but unfortunately I'm still fairly slow and I don't really take hits all that well. With that being said, this is a very significant upgrade because of this fight right here. Now, I had already lost this a few times, and that's because yet another ghost appeared. And unfortunately, I can't hit ghosts, and on top of that, this Spinarak here, if it had been in the first slot, I could have used Fake Out on it to do some damage to it. But because it's her third Pokemon, I can't actually use Fake Out on it, so I have to copy Nightshade from the Shuppet to use it to hit it. It's kind of roundabout, but it's the best way to do it, and I'm able to take down the Spinarak, and then I have to use that same Nightshade to take out the Shuppet. Now luckily, Nightshade is a set damage move, so I don't really need to worry about it doing a ton of damage to Hariyama now, because it has a ton of health. Anyway, with that we make it through the rest of the base fairly easily, and we run into the first boss of the game, which is Lovrina. She leads with a Love Disc and a Beautifly, And I'm actually going to copy Gust from Beautifly here, and that's because after the first two Pokemon here, she's going to send out a Roselia who has Leech Seed, and that could be very, very strong because Leech Seed saps a portion of your health, and because I have a ton of health, it'd be healing her Pokemon even more. And so I'm able to take it down in a single hit with Gust, and I use Arm Thrust. Not quite a one-shot to Delcatty, but I did get a little unlucky with the amount of times it hit. Another Arm Thrust takes down Delcatty, and the Love Disc shouldn't be an issue, and I beat Loverina first try. So after that, I decide to go to the Pyrite Coliseum, and that's because I want to get the move Brick Break, which is going to just be a better move than Arm Thrust in just about every way. And unfortunately, I don't end up winning. So that's not great. Anyway, I'll come back to it later. We meet the obligatory Mirabee. Hello, Mirabee. Good to see you schmovin' still. And after a bit, at level 33, I get the move Smelling Salt. Now this isn't an amazing move, but it is a better move than Sand Attack, so I decide to teach it right away, because at least it's consistent. And at the Real Gam Tower, I pick up my two favorite TMs, TM10 Hidden Power and TM17 Protect, and I'm going to teach Hidden Power right away over Mimic. Okay, so I'm not going to say just why yet. It's terrible that I did this, but just know we'll come back to it. Anyway, I go to the Tutor Lady and go pick up the move Body Slam, which I'm just going to teach over Smelling Salt, because honestly, Smelling Salt isn't that good anyway. And this is why. Hidden Power just happened to be Ground. Now, Ground is a good Hidden Power type. Unfortunately, a lot of the ghosts in this game have the Levitate ability, making them immune to Ground type moves. So, it's not good. So, I go to Mount Battle to go train, and at level 40, I get access to the move Belly Drum. Now, I'm not going to teach it now, but it's going to be very important for later. And after getting 1,000 points, I reteach Knockoff, because I need to be able to hit any ghost. And I decided to go back to try to take down this trainer, and I lost again. Pyrite Coliseum is looking pretty difficult for Hariyama. Anyway, I moved back to the lady with the Mischievous, and I just want to show off because I've never actually shown this strategy before, but if you call on the first turn when they're setting up the double team and the fake out, because calls always activate first, you can raise your accuracy to always hit the Kadabra. Anyway, I just thought it was neat and something I came up with. But even with Knockoff, which is super effective, it's still a 3-shot on Mischievous. And that's because I have such a low special attack stat. And Knockoff only has 20 base power, so it's really not going to do that much damage anyway. But yeah, most ghosts from here on out are definitely going to give us a bit of trouble. So anyway, we move on to the next big fight in the game. This is Greevil, and he leads with a Quagsire and a Lantern. Now, unfortunately, I'm not able to take down the Quagsire in a single hit. Luckily, it doesn't miss a Rock Tomb, which would have lowered my speed, making me probably slower than the Lunatone. And the Lantern is just going to keep using Shockwave because it does decent damage, I guess. Anyway, unfortunately, Lunatone is able to set up Shadow Sky because I'm not able to one-shot it, but another Arm Thrust is able to take it down. Out comes Cast Form, who should probably be a one-shot with Body Slam. So I'm able to take it down in a single hit, and then out comes Matang. Now this actually has Confusion, which is going to do super effective damage to me, and has the small chance to confuse, so hopefully I don't get unlucky. One Arm Thrust isn't enough to take it down. Confusion takes me down pretty low, but I think I'll be able to survive. So I take down the Matang this turn, and Lantern, it gets a crit and beats me. Okay, well that's a bit unfortunate, but second attempt, I take him down. We move on to the next boss in the game. This is Gonzap. His whole gimmick is Hyper Beam, and the first turn, the Nuzleaf will always use Fake Out to try to paralyze me with Electrode. And unfortunately, the Electrode does get it. but I'm able to take it down with a Hidden Power Ground. Now I will say that this is the second attempt because I got very similar luck, but I just got paralyzed a lot more. Anyway, I'm able to take down the Vile Plume in a single body slam. Another Hyper Beam comes out, doing very little. Whiscash gets a Rock Tomb off, but honestly lowering my speed at this point doesn't really change anything. Out comes Skarmory. I use Arm Thrust into it, and it is not quite a one-shot. Okay, Aerial Ace comes out, and it's doing quite a bit of damage to me. And I'm able to take it down with a crit. And I decide not to learn Seismic Toss. I don't even think it works on ghosts anyway, so it wouldn't help my ghost situation. And I get paralyzed, and then I take down the Nuzleaf with a Body Slam. Okay, well, hey, look at that guy, that handsome fellow. No, I did actually miss a Makuhita way earlier that I fought, but oh well. Anyway, at the top of the pyramid, I teach Earthquake over Hidden Power because they're the same type, and we move on to the next fight of the game, which is against Gorgon. He's going to use Protect and Earthquake, so I decide to take down the Celio, because the Lairon is just going to protect, and then on this turn I can use Earthquake, because they're not going to protect. And then his Ursaring comes out, which I already know is going to be a one-shot. And the Primeape comes out, his first Shadow Pokemon, and it's a one-shot as well. So I'm thinking it's just going to be a one-shot sweep. Out comes Hypno, and it hangs on by a little, and does a little. But unfortunately it's not enough to take me down, and I beat him first try. So now we go on to the last area of the game. Now I will say Hariyama has had some pretty big challenges up until now, but I think it's definitely going to do very well in the endgame. And to start that streak, we have Lavrina, which we one-shot her first two Pokemon, and then out comes Roselia. Luckily I am also a male, so I won't get attracted by the Roselia, so I can actually focus the Farfetch'd. And then out comes Altaria, her second Shadow Pokemon. Roselia sets up a Leech Seed, which I don't really like, so I decide to take it down. And then Shadow Breaks really aren't doing too much damage to me, so one Body Slam, not enough to take it down, and a second Body Slam takes it down, and Lavrina first try. And whoa! I didn't know there was another one of you around. Hello there, other Hariyama. I'm not able to quite one-shot it. It's a little unfortunate, but one more Earthquake should do the trick. And before this next fight, I decide to teach Protect, and that's because Knockoff really doesn't have any application anymore. There's no more ghost types to be an issue. And we're up against Snattle once again. I can one-shot his Metang with Earthquake, but not quite as Quagsire, it would seem. I go for another Earthquake. Not quite enough to take down the Scizor, but I take down the Quagsire. Out comes Solrock. And this thing could be a bit of a threat. I go for Arm Thrust to do as much damage as I can to it, and it looks to be about a 5-shot. So it definitely could have gotten lucky enough to do it, but unfortunately I don't get that luck. Fruity Pebbles are raining down now. I go for another Arm Thrust, but unfortunately it's faster than me and does actually quite a bit of damage. Out comes Cast Form. Aerial Ace also does quite a bit of damage, and the Fruity Pebbles don't allow me to heal. And Scizor faints, bringing out Starmie. Now, there's a good chance I'm not actually faster than this, so I am going to take a lot of damage and or get defeated immediately, which it was the latter. Okay, well anyway, we go back into it again, this time with a little bit of a different plan, and that plan being get a crit on Quagsire. Okay, that wasn't actually a part of the plan, but I'm poisoned now. So I can actually do a lot more damage because of the Guts ability. And if you watch the Ursaring video, you should know kinda how this goes. I'm able to one-shot a lot of his Pokemon now. And then out comes Starmie once again, but now I'm at much higher health, so I should be able to take at least one, which I do, and Earthquake takes down Starmie. So we move on to the next battle against Ardos. I do think this one might be kind of hard, and that's because I can't actually outspeed the Alakazam at this level, so I do take about half my health worth of damage in Psychic, and because of the Fruity Pebbles I don't actually heal, and that actually did a ton of damage. Okay. Miss? Nope. Okay, well that's why it took another 4 attempts. And that was because I did a bit of training and took a few rare candies. And the strange thing here is that the Swellow went for Shadow Half on the first turn. Okay, well that was nice, but... And then it went for Shadow Half again. And that allows me to actually take out the Heracross in a single turn. And then out comes Electabuzz. And I go for Protect again. And then another Shadow Half. And then Electabuzz also uses Shadow Half. So now they're both really low. I use Earthquake to take down the Electabuzz because it's definitely scarier here. And then I use Protect here. And the Swellow actually decided to start using Shadow Mist, probably to make the 50% accurate Shadow End a little more accurate by lowering my evasiveness, which it does hit, but only does about half, so I'm able to take down the Snorlax fairly easily. It took a few attempts, but we got there. Next is Gorgon, once again using Protect and Earthquake. I go for Body Slam, not quite enough to take down the Slowking. I use Earthquake now, take it down, and the Ursaring. And then out comes Aggron and Walrein. Now Walrein might be able to be taken down by a couple arm thrusts. Okay, 3. So definitely not a guaranteed one-shot. Out comes the Poliwrath, his first Shadow Pokemon, but it always sets up Shadow Sky on the first turn, so it's not really that big of a threat. On the first turn anyway. Shadow Sky comes out, Fruity Pebbles rain down, and Earthquake takes down Mr. Mime and Poliwrath. Okay. Well, moving right along to Eldis, and we're surprisingly doing pretty well. I go for Earthquake, take down my Nectric, but unfortunately I'm not faster than it, so it's able to set up Shadow Sky. And then out comes Salamence. Fruity Pebbles rain down. I use Protect this turn because the Ninjask is going to be using Aerial Ace, doing quite a bit of damage to me. And Body Slam. Okay, Shadow Rush actually does quite a bit to me as well. Body Slam isn't quite a 2-shot, unfortunately, but I do get a Paralysis. Fruity Pebbles rain down, and I go for another Body Slam. Hopefully it was just a range, but unfortunately it looks to be just under half. So I go for Protect again, and I take down the Salamence. Okay, well, next comes the Flygon, which could also be scary depending on if it wants to use Dragon Breath, which it doesn't seem to want to. It's using Double Edge. And it looks to be a 2-shot, so I get hit for a little bit of damage, Protect again, and I go for another Body Slam, and take down the Flygon. And then out comes Marowak. Now, I think of all of this Pokemon, Marowak might actually be the scariest, because if it hits, it's going to do probably more than half my health, and an Earthquake isn't enough to even take it to half, and okay, it does right around half my health from full, so that, yeah, not great. Anyway, an Earthquake is able to take it down once it loses a bit health from Shadow End, and out comes the Shadow Lapras. And I go for Earthquake, and it looks to be about a 3-shot. Shadow Sky comes out, and I go for another Earthquake, and it's just not enough, and Shadow Storm takes me down. Okay, well that's alright. Now, I decide to teach Belly Drum here, and that's because I think this fight has a very obvious place where I can start the Belly Drum at, and that is right at the beginning, because the Manectric is just going to set up Shadow Sky, and Manectric really only uses Shadow End, which is 50% accurate, so I can redo this fight a couple times with relative ease until I get that luck. Luckily, the first attempt actually gets it once I'm trying this new strategy, so Earthquake comes out and takes it down. I go for Body Slam into the Salamence. Not on this turn, but the next, because I don't want to get hit by Aerial Ace. So I go for Body Slam, and it is a one-shot. Okay, that's really good. Out comes Flygon. Now this should be a one-shot as well, because it was a 2-shot before. So I take down the Flygon. Out comes Marowak. It should be more of the same. Another Protect. and Earthquake to do as much damage as I can, and it's a one-shot. Now Lapras, I think, should also be a one-shot, but I'm not quite sure. Now, I should have just attacked that turn. Protect was definitely the wrong move, but it doesn't really matter because I go for Body Slam here, one-shot it, and then because the Ninja just protected that turn, I can go for Body Slam once again and take it down. And that's Eldest on the second attempt. Now, before you can fight the final boss, you have to fight the Big Box legendary Shadow Lugia. And those Shadow Storms are actually doing a little bit of damage, so I'm hoping I can heal as much as I can before the final fight. And an unfortunate not getting the paralysis on that. I would have liked the extra health. Body Slam takes it down, and we move on to the final battle. So I go for Protect on the first turn, and I use Body Slam into Moltres, and I get a crit and take it down. Okay, well that's really lucky. So on this turn, and another miss, okay, I go for Protect, and I go for Earthquake to see how much it does. It's not quite a one-shot on the Rhydon, and Shadow End does quite a bit to me, and Shadow End takes me down to about a third. I go for Protect here just to heal up a little bit before I go on to the Tauros, and I go for Body Slam here, and that's because I don't want to bring out both the Tauros and the Articuno on this turn, because that might be more difficult to deal with. Anyway, I go for Earthquake. It's not quite enough to take down the Tauros, but I am able to take down the Executor, and then out comes Articuno. Shadow Sky comes out from the Tauros. It always sets up Shadow Sky and then follows it with Shadow Hold, so I should at least get one free turn to attack, and Shadow Chill takes me down. And then what precedes this is my attempts at using Belly Drum on the first turn, and getting very unlucky. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 coin flips I lost in a row using Belly Drum. But luckily on the 6th attempt of Belly Drum strategy, 10th attempt altogether, I finally get lucky enough to not get destroyed on the first turn within the first 30 seconds. And we're able to actually one-shot the Moltres without a crit. Earthquake takes down both the Executor and the Rhydon in a single hit. Out comes Tauros, which, like I said, effectively gives us 2 free turns to move if we can set it up right. And Body Slam's able to take down Articuno. Out comes Zapdos. And another Body Slam should be able to take down the Zapdos. And Tauros is basically dead. So one more Body Slam and Tauros goes down, and we beat the game at 11 hours and 52 seconds at level 76 with 34 feints. Now that is surprisingly decent considering the fact that it really couldn't deal with ghosts at all. And if I were to redo Hariyama, I think it could definitely do a little bit better than it did here. But I'm not sure if it'd be too much better, because honestly, just not being able to hit ghosts and having some pretty poor type coverage led to a lot of issues in the early game. And its statistics also line up fairly well with Mightyena. It's almost exactly on par with it. But at least in this instance, I'll give Mightyena the edge. It was faster, it was a slightly higher level than Hariyama, but it lost a lot less. And to be fair, most of Hariyama's losses were at Greevil. It had 9 losses there, specifically, so yeah, it might be a little better than Mightyena, but in this specific instance, I think I'll give Mightyena the victory, but they're very close. Anyway, with that being said, I'm not sure what else to really say on Hariyama. So, if you liked the video, consider liking and subscribing. If you have any Pokemon suggestions, put them down below. And I guess I'll start the Hoenn starter trio. So, bye.